So happy to be here today, and thank you so much, Paula, for the presentation. Thanks for stepping in. It's funny for me to be in this other position for once, and I'm very glad to be here with Reda, with my partner, with my fiance, and we are so happy that you came, even though it's a rainy day and probably in the morning you found yourself wondering, okay, should I come, should I not come, should I come? So we're glad to have you here with us, and we hope that it's going to be a very inspiring session for every one of you.
Yeah, great thanks to all Creative Morning team. To 80 Dots, it's really a wonderful place, even if the weather is not perfect. We're really happy to be here, and we're gonna get started in a couple seconds, but we can already launch it. Yeah, it's all good. All we need is to click.
We are two, so one will be speaking, the other one will be the pointer.
All right.
Good. So yeah. Should we ask first of all the question that could be very interesting?
Yeah. So before we get started, and but by raise of hand, a quick question: who here loves traveling? All right, almost everyone. You doesn't? You don't? All right. Yeah, actually, we do also. It's actually a big passion of us, and that we transformed into a project called Time to Trawell, right here. And so this startup, actually, what we do there is we encourage quality travel, and basically we met in Paris, where we lived 10 years. And we moved lately to Munich. We lived in other countries also, Japan, Denmark, and USA. But originally, we're not from there.
So I come from Slovenia, a tiny little country, and Reda comes from Morocco. So, you know, we have this very international profile, we could say. We both speak five different languages that are helping us when we travel to interact with the locals. But at the same time, we would love to travel on a daily basis, but Time to Travel is not our daily job. This is just a project that we do on the side, because in our daily jobs, we do something a little bit different. So I am a brand manager in the entertainment domain, and Reda is a manager in the automotive industry. So travel is really our passion, and it is something that we just love. And we are going to talk about this today a little bit. So basically, what we have realized was that in all these, you know, international experiences that we have had so far, it all sounds really pretty cool, you know. Okay, we're from different countries. We met in Paris. We traveled to over 50 countries. We speak languages. Yay, it's so good. But it's actually not such a piece of cake. It sounds very easy, but when you are doing this, there are so many challenges on a daily basis. And we are so really convinced that it was thanks to the concept of symmetry on many different levels that we made this work for us, and that we feel really well, even though our everyday life is changing from a few years to another. So before we start any digging, first things first, so the topic is symmetry, and so simply, what is symmetry? So we're gonna have a little nice game. I'm gonna show you a couple pictures, and by raise of hands, if you think that is symmetry, hands up. If you don't. All right, first picture. Who thinks this is symmetry? All right, almost everyone, even the one who doesn't like traveling. All right, next one. How about this one? Unanimity. Great. Now, how about this one?
Wow. 1, 2.
Wait, let's give people time to think.
Okay.
So this can be, we can also say, who thinks that human body is a picture of a symmetry?
Yeah. It's discussable. Some people say, well, actually, it's still the human body. It could look, but if you really look closer, it's not that symmetrical. Like, for example, the feet are not really 100% symmetric. Let's take it to another level. How about this one? All right, who thinks this is symmetry? All right.
Good. So we are very happy that the reactions were the way they were, because usually people respond in this way. So what happens is that, just before you go to the next slide.
I'm not.
When we say symmetry, everyone very often thinks that we know what symmetry is. And then when we start digging into it, we start thinking, okay, wait, what is symmetry? And so we had a look at different examples, very different ones. So some that are present in nature, some that are very, mathematical, geometrical, some that are very discussable. Is this symmetry, is this not? So we wanted to just have a look at the Oxford Dictionary and see what is the definition of symmetry. And basically we were very surprised because, or not, because what we found was that there are two different interpretations of symmetry. The first one is that symmetry is the quality of being made up of exactly similar parts facing each other or around an axis. So this would be the first picture that we showed, where there were geometrical forms, there was a line, and they were exactly identically symmetrical. But then the second definition is that symmetry is a similarity or exact correspondence between different things. So when we think of symmetry in this way, the human body is symmetrical, the dance that we have seen is symmetrical, and actually this is not necessarily linked to just things, but it could be linked to concepts, and this is what we will discuss today a little bit. So, before we go a little bit further, a question. When you look at something symmetrical, how does this make you feel? Does this make you feel like anything? Usually what happens is that people say, it's so perfect, it looks nice, it's pleasant to look at, I like it, you know? And actually the thing is that it is very easy for the brain to understand symmetry. And what happens is that symmetry is actually very pleasant to the eye. Our brain doesn't have much to do about this, and we still ask ourselves, but why? Why does it feel good? Why is it so pleasant? So basically, we realized that when we were digging a little bit, is that our brain works in a way according to certain rules. And symmetry, so when one part of an image, of an event, of anything is reflecting more or less perfectly the other part, our brain is resting. It doesn't have much to do. There is not much interpretation going on because it's easy to understand.
And also it's harmonious.
It's very harmonious.
Yeah.
And we would like to give you a very concrete example of two different images so that you understand this concept. So if you look at this beautiful Moroccan tiles image, just look at it for 10 seconds. Don't think about it, just look at it. And then, if we show you this, again, just look at it a little tiny bit. If we put those two together, we could say that both are beautiful. Some could say that the left one is more beautiful, some could say that the right one is more beautiful. But what is happening in your head while you're looking at those two images is that when you look at the left-hand side, you don't think much. Try and do it on yourself. It's just there. You don't count circles. You don't try to make sense of it, it's just there. When you look at the right one, you're a bit puzzled. You're like, okay, so what am I looking at? What's the catch there? Is this made on purpose? Is this really going together? How does this go together with this? So our brain is puzzled. And this is a very interesting example, super simple, that shows that our brain likes symmetry because it's easy to understand. Subconsciously, our brain on the left-hand side is more or less resting, and subconsciously on the right-hand side, it's making some connections. We are not consciously doing this. We don't consciously say, okay, so let me try and figure out now what's on this picture. You know, it happens somehow spontaneously in our brain because our brain is used to do this. And actually, in the nature, everything that is asymmetrical is usually perceived as dangerous or is usually a sign of illness. So this is why our mind subconsciously likes anything that looks good and anything that looks kind of perfect. So let's explore this a little bit further.
Yeah, so to sum up in 3 words, mind likes symmetry. Here, we will have a little experience with this, what we call the Kanisa triangle. It's a Japanese word. Take a look. Don't think basically just what you see here, if someone can tell us.
It's not a trick question. Just
there is no trick, there is no trap, you will not get, there is no good or wrong answer. Can you tell us what you see here?
I directly see this triangle that is actually invisible.
The one that you did like this. All right.
So should we went one step further? Really good.
Yeah.
You said you see a triangle that is in fact invisible.
You're fine. You're fine. You're just like all of us, and it's what most of us see. It's basically a white triangle over another one. But thing is, actually, there is no triangle, right? I mean, basically, all we have here is 3 Pac-Man heads and floating V's, right? That's all. So basically, our brain receives a picture, and we automatically look for symmetry. The brain desires symmetry, so when we see it obvious, we like it, but even when we don't, we look for it. So it's something that our mind actually is programmed somehow to seek visually, but then we will take it to another level. It's not only visually that we look for symmetry.
So this brings us to this point when we say that symmetry, in a nutshell, it could be also seen as a set of rules. So let me just here. So our brain is looking for symmetry on a daily basis, even when there is none, not just visually, but also in terms of processes, in terms of what happens to us, in terms of our behaviors. So we could say that in everyday life, there are so many different things that happen to us, and we like to follow certain rules. And when those rules are not really followed, we are puzzled. So let's say that you come to another country, or not even. Let's say you're in Munich, you go in a bakery in the morning, you say hi before when you enter. When you go visit your friends, when you enter, you say hi. When you go to work, you say hi, you greet people. And when someone comes and doesn't say hi, we may think that this is weird, that it is rude. We start interpreting it. So what is happening? The symmetry of this person, the set of rules of this person who came and didn't say hi, is not the same as ours. So for us, when you enter somewhere, I mean, when I say us, I don't say everyone needs to say hi. It's pleasant, but it's not necessarily a compulsory thing to do. We expect people to play by those rules that are common to us.
Yeah, we could give another example that we all lived at least once in our lives is when we met new people. We say, hi, how are you doing? What do you do? Where are you from? And automatically, without thinking, we look for some similarities that we could have with this person. Like, well, hobbies, personal situation, single, or, you know. And like once I was working in Detroit, I met this wonderful guy. He said, hi, where are you from? At the time, I will just present, I was living in Paris. I come from Paris. Oh, you come from France. Oh, wonderful. Actually, last year, my cousin's neighbor went to Italy. So the guy was really looking for, that was the closest thing that he found. And it's wonderful. So we have it actually, we're programmed, and we like looking for this, some kind of symmetry.
And basically, so at our at Time to Travel, we have been working a lot with people who travel and who want to change the way they travel because of certain frustrations or because they feel that there is still some space to improve the way they travel. And basically, we realized that a lot of people who talk to us, they say, I mean, it all comes down to a frustration when they travel. And this one main frustration happens because people are faced with other people who do not act according to their own rules, which is very often what happens when we travel. So people usually, they say, okay, I booked this hotel and it was completely different from what I expected. It was supposed to be 4 stars, but I wouldn't even give it 2 stars. Was it my fault, or how can I improve this in the future? Or people say, I don't like when I travel how different societies are organized or how people are punctual or not punctual, so I don't know what to do. I want to change this because I don't enjoy traveling anymore. Some people say, I don't like the food, and they always look for, restaurants that offer European food if they're Europeans, or some French or already that we worked with, that they complained that their steak wasn't well done in this country where they were traveling, and this bothered them, and they were like, it's ruined our holidays, like the food was just awful. Some people even complain that there is no Starbucks where they travel. So different people have different ways of enjoying their trips, and usually it all comes back to looking to what we know. So when we travel abroad, especially if we travel, to countries where the culture is a little bit different from our personal culture, what happens is that we try to reproduce our symmetry, our set of rules in this new country. So what happens is that we could say that symmetry ultimately becomes a comfort zone. A comfort zone on the one hand for our brain, but a comfort zone for us. So maybe you can share an experience, what happened to us in Mexico, because even us, we know the principle of symmetry, and yet even us, when we travel, sometimes we find ourselves trying to force our symmetries in another context.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about this part because I'm not very proud of it, but anyways. So last month we were in Mexico, traveling in Yucatan, Cancun, Tulum region. So we had a car, we were driving, and so we took off from Munich, and so there, automatically I was driving the same way. I drive here in Munich, in German way, and we noticed that actually in Mexico, in Yucatan, people don't really drive the same way. Automatically, without thinking, so basically a couple things. Some people, just turn without putting the signal, double on without doing that, and I got annoyed. Sometimes I give the light, and actually I was actually without thinking. I was estimating myself a smart person, but actually I was expecting people to behave like my way, and it was annoying. And at the same time, we were there for a week.
He wanted to educate Mexican people how they should drive.
No. I wouldn't say that.
He tried to tell them. He would put the long lights, to show them, guy, you didn't put the light.
All right. Now the point is, all right, guys. The point is.
And he was complaining a lot, so I was sitting next to him.
All right. Okay. You really insist on embarrassing me. So the point is. I went there with my comfort zone, with my symmetry, the way I drive, and I felt something different. So there is a gap. And the reaction to that gap is the tricky part. It's either I will insist in my way, doing it my way, and try even scream to people, or, and what I did, luckily, as well, is say, I'm not going to change them. It actually could avoid me. I mean, it could bother me enjoying my time. So I just adapt somehow to it. we're not saying everyone should adapt, but everyone's reaction that we will see next is actually unique regarding this gap we could experience.
So basically what is happening in this is that we were out of our comfort zone. We didn't know how to drive so that we would be safe on the one hand, that other people would be safe on the other hand, and that we would enjoy the experience, because we love renting cars when we travel. So we were out of our comfort zone, and we realized that our symmetry, our set of rules wasn't matching theirs. But at the same time, it wasn't up to us to judge them or to try to instruct them how to drive. Of course, if we are talking later on, we had some lunches with some Mexican people, and we would talk to them about this, and they were like, "Yeah, it's not how we work. That's not how we live. That's not what is our objective. You just drive, and you go left, you go right." And someone even said, "How do people drive in Morocco?" And we could really not take this to another level. He is not a very Moroccan driver, and he's more like a German driver when it comes to respecting the rules, respecting the distances between cars and everything. But this brings us to another example.
So bottom line, to keep always in head the bottom line. We started with symmetry, said that we like it, we look for it. Somehow symmetry is our comfort zone. And my own experience, the place where I was totally outside of my comfort zone was in Japan. It's a wonderful country if you have been lucky as I was to be there. Before going there, I had expatriate colleagues who went there, and they told me, Japan, it's just so different. It's like another planet, and Japanese people are like aliens. So I said, "Oh, okay, calm down. Thank you very much for your point of view. Just give me some time. I'm gonna go and make my own." When I read it, actually, I was I was not shocked, but not really shocked in a way that it's indeed so different. One of the differences I was very surprised is that you cannot smoke in the street.
He's not a smoker.
I'm not a smoker, but I like to have the option. And even in a park like English-Garten in Tokyo, you cannot smoke in a park. It's just forest. You need to go to this kind of smoking area inside the park, and this is only one of very different points. Another point is the way people are very respectful in the subway. It's forbidden to talk on the phone, right? I talk under control. We have a representative from Japan. It's forbidden to talk on the phone in a subway or public transportation. Once I had an emergency. With the time difference, I was like calling Katja. I feel like I'm doing a big cry. I'm like, "Hi, I'm in the subway," and it's just another reference. And examples there are so many things that are very different. Yeah, the road crossing. It's like here in Germany, if you are a pedestrian, you want to cross. If it's red, you don't. But the big difference is that here in Germany, apparently, if you cross, and there is policeman, you could get fined, right? And even
cross when the light is red.
Yeah.
And not even just policemen, or even No.
And even you could lose some points from your driving license. That's another dimension. The point is, in Japan, it's forbidden, but there are no Strafen, the fines, and there is no punishment. And this is actually after a couple years, they asked me what is the craziest thing I found. It was not the food. It was not. It was this thing. That's how. In an empty street, people do that. It's like the highest level of education. And when I ask them, this is driving me crazy. I'm doing it there, I respect it, but I don't understand why everyone does that. And the answer, I don't understand it. I'm going to just share the answer with you. They said, well, actually, because everyone does that. Thank you very much. And then I say, okay, excuse my ignorance, or maybe I'm not. Could you just say, well, I'm going to give you an example. You, in accidental words, so from that point of view, they say, when you have your kid, he does something bad in your house, how do you punish the kid? Go to your room, right? It's pretty common. In Japan, they don't have that. They told me in Japan, in our country, if a kid does something wrong, you go outside of the house. So you somehow exclude the person from the group. So they have this group mentality. It's devastating in a positive way. It's actually wonderful that this is what we do, all of us. Of course, there are reasons why we do that, but at the same time, we don't. If you do something different, you are outside of the group. But we stick to the group. That's one of the reasons of the strongest of the Japanese culture and mentality.
And
back to
sorry, no, and we were talking a lot about this. So when either on the phone and when he already got back, and he said, I'm kind of disappointed by my colleague who called the Japanese people aliens.
Mm-hmm.
He said, of course, they are different from what we are used to, but whereas a lot of people, they don't try and understand the culture where they find themselves in, they just judge and they just want to go back to the comfort zone. So basically, what Reda did was that he tried to understand what was behind those rules, because this ultimately tells you a lot about the people that you meet, the people that you hang out with, the new cultures that you discover, and basically, the thing what's the reason behind this, why people are not supposed to smoke on the street? It's the waste management, they say. So Japan is one of the cleanest countries in the world. Reda said, he was joking a bit, he said that the public toilet,
like in every metro station, is cleanest.
Is cleaner than a lot of toilets in
4-star hotel
rooms somewhere in Europe, And basically the reason is they want their country to be clean, and in order for this, they say you can only smoke here. So basically, what is happening is that this situation that is kind of uncomfortable if you don't know the culture, you don't know how to react to, you don't want people to look bad at you, you don't want them to judge you and say, oh, they're just ignorant Europeans who try to travel around the world.
Yeah.
These situations are chaos.
And just to sum up that story, when I went back after 2 years and talked to my friends, said, oh, how was it, huh? Aliens, huh? I said, well, actually, I respect your point of view, but frankly, with what I have seen, and with the smoky thing, and all the aspects, I'm really sure that some Japanese people would come here and really see us as aliens. I was talking at the time about France, like people smoking everywhere, it's not very clean, etc., etc. So when we go outside, to go back to the bottom line, we're going outside of our comfort zone and look to something that is different. There is no weird. It's just that
it's different.
It's different.
But what happens is, so if we go back a little steps, and when we show you that basically our brain is craving symmetry, and that our brain subconsciously is telling us that we like something or that we don't like it because it seems off, this means that asymmetry, which could be a chaos on the other hand, it doesn't feel good to us. It doesn't feel good to our brain. It doesn't feel, we are very often puzzled. We don't know. What should we do? How should we act? Should we adapt? What is behind this? And sometimes we don't even have a lot of time to go into this. But this image is something that we feel it illustrates really well why symmetry is not always good, and why this chaos is actually crucial in the life, because this is where we learn. Do you want to take us through the picture? Yeah,
well, this is actually a well-known story. Maybe you know it. It's about a frog, and there is a bird who comes from the top and said, hey, little frog, come up, it's a wonderful world outside. I said, are you crazy? I'm here in my, how is it called in English?
The well.
The well.
Like the wishing well.
Yeah. Well, I'm here in my well with my perfectly circled sky. For her, the sky is circle. I have all I need. And why would I go outside? And then, in the story, she managed to go somehow outside. And what she discovered that, first of all, the sky is not circle, it's different. And there is actually the word, it's not only that what she knows here, but there are trees and birds and other creatures and and so this is the thing about going outside from where we are. It opens widely the mind.
What happened probably to this frog, and maybe you can identify with this frog on a certain level, is that from this comfort zone, from this symmetry, from everything that felt good and that she knew or it knew, it went out to chaos. And what we say is that in this chaos, we actually take a step back from what we know. We take a step back from just following our brain and our brain telling us what we like and what we don't like. and we become the actors, and we start thinking of what is happening in this chaos. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not that good. When we travel, sometimes we find societies that do things that we would never do, that we would never want to do. But it is interesting for us to still to see this, to understand it, to try to ask ourselves, is there something that we could learn from this situation and take back into our lives? And this is where we feel, and where we're strongly convinced that the learning happened. And basically, we have a few examples.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Yeah, well, one of them, if we come from, start from here, from Munich, and go elsewhere, in Germany, it's wonderful how punctual we are. I mean, I'm a very, very inside, a very good Mediterranean Moroccan person, relaxed, etc. But still, I like having, you know, the way of going forward in life. It's about having punctuality and very well organization. But if we go with this punctuality right in time, and we go to a Mediterranean country, if we authorize ourselves to generalize, I mean, it could be Morocco, Spain, Italy, Greece, Croatia, whatever, we could, talking candidly, have situations where, well, punctuality is not the highest value. And one of the examples in Marrakech, there is, I think it was Yves Saint Laurent he went there to live there in Jardin Majorel that he founded. And well, for the beginning, he came right away from New York, so you know, New York, super hectic, etc. And Marrakech, it's maybe the most relaxed city. People are really, really relaxed. And he was, you know, filling that gap we talked about. I said, well, I think should go really fast, etc. And it's not as fast as and he was expecting. And one day he was having his Moroccan tea on a coffee place, and he was looking really anxious. And the waiter said, "Oh, my friend, what's going on?" And well, he told him, "Well, this is the situation. I really want to pace things up, etc." I said, "Listen, my dear friend, you Occidentals, you have watches. We have time. So relax and enjoy your Moroccan tea." So it's and then he started really going into it. There's that part when you know how to react and to adapt to that gap. And once again, there is no good or bad. It's to find our own way, every person of us, in those kind of situations.
So what we are saying is that very often, by wanting to reproduce our own symmetry, our own comfort zone in situations that are new to us, we may be forcing a certain point of view on another culture. And this has happened to us as well, for instance, when we were in Thailand. So what happened was that we went from Bangkok to one of the islands, and on the way back, we had a very tight schedule. So we needed to get back from an island, so we needed to get a boat to go back to Bangkok so that we could go to the airport and fly back. And what was happening was that when we asked, so our flight was, I don't know, like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so we said, okay, if we time this right, we can still go to the beach in the morning, sit somewhere maybe just before taking the boat to go back to Bangkok and have enough time to be on the plane. And when we went to the ticket office to buy the ticket for the boat, we said, so, okay, how long does the boat ride take? Because we wanted to calculate everything really well. And they said, well, you know, it can be half an hour, it can be an hour and a half. And we said, yeah, okay, but like, you know, can you tell us like how long will our boat take? And they said, yeah, it depends on the waves, it depends on, you know, so many different things. And at the end, what we did was like, we were so stressed because we still wanted to, you know, we didn't want to find ourselves in Bangkok at the airport waiting for 4 hours for our flight. We would have much preferred waiting 4 hours on the beach and then, you know, being very efficient in the rest of the trip. But what happened was that we just didn't get a close answer. So at the end, I think we went to the beach for like 2 hours, and then we were very stressed on the boat, but then at the end, everything worked out well. But what we realized was that in this situation, we should have adapted to the local culture. We should have, if we wanted to become. If we wanted to become this man that we needed to go there in the morning, take the boat in the morning, maybe sit in Bangkok before going to the airport and have lunch there calmly and then go back to the airport. This would have made sure that we understood how the local people are operating, But we were forcing our punctuality on the whole thing, and it didn't work out. And we were stressed, and this is what a lot of people tell us. I'm so unhappy when I was traveling because of this and this and this. And it all happens just because people don't try to understand how different places work. And another example as well from Bangkok, now when we're talking, is that we consider ourselves very experienced travelers. We have traveled so many places, so many countries, so many cultures, different continents. And when we came to Bangkok, it was the first time in Bangkok for us. A lot of things were really new to us. We didn't know the language, not a lot of people spoke English. We didn't know the culture as well. It was super humid, we were tired after the flight. And our comfort zone was that we are experienced travelers and we know what we need to do to get to hotel. So, okay, we said, we will go out, we will take a taxi, we'll give the taxi the address, we'll get to our hotel, we'll be fine. What happened was that we came out of the airport, we took the taxi, and our taxi driver didn't understand the address that we gave him.
They don't operate with address.
They don't, in Bangkok, people don't operate with Google Maps or with addresses. So basically what he was asking us, he said, I don't know where your hotel is, but give me the number of the hotel and I will call them and they will explain me where to go. So I don't know if they're telling, at the second tree you go left and then you go right. I don't know how they do it, but the address that we gave him didn't work. And we didn't have any data, and data is very expensive abroad and everything, so we had no way to figure this out. So this showed that sometimes even when we feel that we are very comfortable with what we're doing, it actually doesn't work, because we need to adapt. So maybe let's give one last example before drawing the conclusion.
Yeah, one brief one is about communication. For me, one of the difficulties here in Germany when I started to work in here is that we should really be right to the point. Opposite to what I have been used to in France and working in the US. We have the little, hi, how are you doing? Great, and you? Great, yeah, how are the kids? How was the weekend? Blah, blah, blah. And I did that actually the first morning, the first Monday morning, and people answered, they were polite, but I really felt that what the hell is it? And I mean,
that's so personal. Why do you want to talk about my kids?
And that's
what
fine.
Concern is this to
that's
you?
Fine. That's respected. I still kept doing it. I mean, that way because I like doing it. I mean, I like that human touch. But at the same time, in terms of doing business, the big advisors, not us in doing business different cultures, but what works actually is that we should go to the other. You're American. If I'm German, I'm American. I know it's not in my habit to come say, hi, how are you? But somehow, I know if I go into creating a symmetry with you, going into your comfort zone, I'm going outside of my comfort zone. It's fine. I'm just adapting to it, and then I go back once we starting talking business. At the same thing, that is advice to American guys who come here. They're like, oh, okay, right to the point. So this is another example that the learning starts where we are outside of this comfort zone. We have our own symmetry, where we come from, our background, etc. We go somewhere else. It's different. There is a gap. We react. We somehow can create a new symmetry and so on.
So the bottom line of this would be that we always encourage people that we work with that they should stop judging to start with. They should stop judging others without understanding the other cultures. We're not saying that every time you go on a holiday you want to get out of your comfort zone and you want to learn so many new things. Some people just want to go to wherever they go every time and they just want to have fun, and that's fine. But the moment when people start complaining and not enjoying their lives anymore because their symmetry, what they're used to, is not what they expected others to do, this is the problem, and we tell them it comes from you. You have to think how you can make this work in a certain environment. So we have seen that this comfort zone, this symmetry that we create in our lives, it's pleasant. It feels good, and it's great. We're not saying we should get rid of the symmetry, not at all. We actually think that the symmetry with asymmetry, with this chaos, means growth. So this means that our brain needs to feel good, and we always have to have this kind of natural instinct to reproduce something that we know. But at the same time, if we want to learn, we need to give a little bit of space to the culture that we're dealing with. And actually, we have been talking a lot about travel, but this doesn't apply to travel only. Who here has ever changed jobs in their lives? Okay. So I don't know from what company to what company, or from being a freelancer to being in a company you have changed, but what very often happens is that we have our own symmetry, and when we go from one job to another, we try, and react the same way we reacted in the last job. We take everything that worked well, and that's fine. And we sometimes criticize people for, oh my God, like in my former company, these worked super well, and here, we have these new systems, whatever. And we start criticizing. But maybe the point is to try to understand how this new company is working and try to see, can we adapt any of our behavior to this new context or not? It can happen not just in traveling. It can happen when you come across a foreigner in your own city.
In human relationships, if we take the example of us, we have been discussing about. We come from two different countries, totally different cultures, but somehow it's working. Thanks God. And and the thing is, if everyone stick to the way things are done, it would never work. So it's actually taking it to a higher level to say that. If we are in whatever situation in life, no matter where, no matter with whom, if we have different elements, different shapes, in physically or metaphysically, it could still work. We're not saying there is good and bad. It's just by first being conscious of things, by being honest and saying things to ourselves, that first we start understanding. And before certainly we should want to understand. Example back to Japan. So with my friend who said they are aliens because he did not actually, he was still sticking to his point. So once we are ready to understand, we make a step forward, and then we could find our symmetry even there, and most importantly, we could enjoy it and make the most of it.
And this is, we started this talk by saying that it was thanks to all the notion of symmetry in many different forms that we got to like this international life that we're leading. And we know that it's not always easy. It's not easy to go out of your comfort zone. It's not easy to trick your brain and say, it's not going to be you who is going to tell me what I like. Let me really consciously decide how I want to function. And ultimately, this can be taken into any kind of relationships. Be it personal relationships, we all come from different families, from different backgrounds, and we need to make it work together if we want to be with someone. It also comes together to a lot of tolerance. It comes together to respect, because by not just judging and refusing and being, well in our comfort zone, we're getting out there, we're exposing ourselves, we show that we are not 100% sure how to react, but we are at least willing to do this. And this is where the growth happens. So thank you very much.
So thank you, Katja and Reda. Anyone has questions? No? Really?
Give them time.
Symmetrical.
It's boiling.
Okay.
I have a question. How did you, what was the reason for you to start your company? How long is it ago, and what gave you the reason to start it in the first place?
Basically, what happened was that even before founding Time to Travel, we were doing a similar work that we're doing now in our free time. We were talking to a lot of people because we have this international profile, and a lot of people would say, oh, so when you go there, what should I see? How should I adapt? Or people would just complain to us, So basically, we founded our company 1 year ago. And we said, okay, let's see if we can officially start helping people start traveling better. And what we do actually at Time to Travel is that we encourage people to travel well. So this is where Trawell comes from. And we say that there is so many things that we just don't think of when we go to a certain place, because never in the history has it been easier to travel. Today, everyone can book their tickets online. Everyone can translate menu in real time with Google Translator. We can, check things on Instagram and so on. And yet, so many people, when they travel, they come back disappointed because they said, well, on Instagram, I saw this picture and it was such a beautiful beach. And when I actually went there, it was so populated. There were so many people, I didn't even get to lay down. Because what we see on Instagram is not necessarily the reality. Because on Instagram, a lot of people try to take this perfect shot and show off in front of friends, the perfect sunrise and everything. But it may be nice at 5 o'clock in the morning, but by 10, maybe it has another dimension. So what we did was basically, on top of the counseling, we created this book that is called The Ultimate Travel Planner. And basically what happens in this book is that it's a travel planner, but it is much more than that. In the first part, it gives you all the essential information you need to have before you go on a trip. So it goes from very basic things, from how to choose a destination, because I don't know if any one of you has ever traveled to a destination and realized that it was not at all what they thought it was, or whom we travel with. Sometimes we think, okay, I have this group of friends, it's gonna be the best trip ever, and at the end of the day, it's the worst trip ever because people just don't sit down and define what they want to get out of their trip. Someone wants to do the beach, someone wants to do the museums, someone wants to just go around the city, and people are not happy because they didn't get the basics right when starting planning. And then there is a chapter on how to be a sustainable traveler. There is a chapter on what to do when things go wrong. So there are plenty of things in the first part of the book. And then in the second part, there are 7 sections for planning several trips. And we are actually, I don't know if this is a moment now, but we decided that we would like to offer one Ultimate Travel Planner to one of you guys who came here today. We actually have it in 2 different colors, so the winner will be able to choose. So maybe, Reda, do you want to
I like it.
draw one person?
All right. Let's do like this.
Blind.
Don't peek. Elke Hey.
Okay, hey. Wow.
Congratulations. Which color do you feel more appropriate?
You even have the choice, class.
Is there another person?
No, there is just one.
There is just
This
one.
one. Congratulations. We hope that you will enjoy traveling your next trip with it.
Yeah.
So I hope this kind of responds to your question.
Yes. And follow us on Instagram. She is the Instagram person, but I know if I say this, she's gonna like it.
We're actually we really love what we do. This is why this is not our main business. And what we do is that on our Instagram account we offer a lot of like little tricks, what to do when you travel, or we just give a lot of inspiration to people who want to find their next destination. And this is what we really love, so we are very open sharing. So even after the talk, if anyone wants to talk, feel free to
Yeah, it's actually a continuous learning process. We have been so lucky to travel to more than 50 countries, and still we're learning. We still make some mistakes, but it's actually a community thing, and it's all about sharing. So please feel free to share with us whatever content, pictures. We will be so happy.
Well, any other question? No? Well, thank you very much for coming today. Thank you, Katja and Reda. I hope you enjoy. And here there's still some breakfast. We thank to 80 Dots for hosting us today. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to all of you for coming.
Thank you.